Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Woolcast. With it being an international week, there's not very much Liverpool topics to cover, but we'll go back to a few little bits that's happened in the past week and see what we can dig out. Joining me on this show today, I've got Jonathan, Keith, Aaron and Dan. Lads, thanks very much for giving up your time to join me once again, and we'll go straight into the opening question. This week's opening question is, what are your favourite and your worst things about LFC Twitter, and what's the funniest tweet that you can remember? Dan, I'll come to you first, buddy, if you don't mind. What's your best and worst about LFC Twitter to start with?
I've actually got sensible answers this week. The best thing about it is just the banding together in whether we play well or play badly. People do generally, by and large, band together, and just the family feel it's same as when you're actually at a game. Like I said, by and large. Conversely, the worst bit is the same as all Twitter. There's arseholes out there who can't indulge in a healthy debate, even with a difference of opinion, and some people just seem to exist to troll and abuse. So it's make best friends with the block button, really. I know it's not quite specific, but some of the best tweets come from Jamie Carragher.
Oh, he's brilliant, yeah. He is top notch.
Yeah. Anytime he tries to give the Neville brothers a bit of shit, it's always fun. There was an exchange once. Somebody said to him, if you were to be any person in the world, who would it be? He responded with Gary Neville, knowing full well the reply would be, but no one grows up wanting to be Gary Neville. And Carragher just responded with, but Phil did.
That's spot on. That is actually spot on. And where is this happy Liverpool family you speak of after matches? Is there a secret domain I need to be going into for this? Or
this is in the dark web or something, is it?
It's cultivated with a block button and a mute button, to be honest.
Yeah, the mute button's great, isn't it? I have to say, it's one of my favourite things on Twitter because people still think you like them, but you know they're a cunt, so you have them. You have them muted. It's beautiful. It's one of the
dread to think how many people have muted me.
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but you know, needs must and all. Aaron, great to have you on again, buddy. Haven't spoke to you in a while. What's your best and worst of LFC Twitter, please, mate?
I'll tell you what, I love the banter when something big goes off. I remember when Cater done that awful tackle in Leipzig's pre-season, and all of a sudden you had every Liverpool fan going absolutely mental on Twitter about, yeah, no, he's joining, and then all the funny puns that came with it, or it's some of the stuff that comes across that some Liverpool fans put on there. I think that's the best thing. That can change your day. The worst thing has to be the negativity. And I know we're going to talk about FSG out. I hate to bring up the conversation, but Jesus Christ. I saw some of them celebrating, saying that they were the reason the Cater deal went over the line, that their actions were the reason why it got done. That absolutely drives me insane. So that's probably the worst bits. I think I agree, really. I think the best part about Twitter, it probably is Jamie Carragher. I have to say, I have to agree. Exact same. He's absolutely hysterical. I'll tell you what, though, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent. The worst one, that Duncan Castles. You know the one I think he writes for, is it the Sunday Times or ESPN?
Yeah.
He's the egg of all eggs.
Express.
What a fucking bellend he is. What an absolute bellend. That has literally no information, no source, just makes up a fucking story to put it in a paper and a website and puts it on there. And then, when he's wrong about the whole Coutinho thing, tries to defend himself and say that he was in fact right. Well, no, he's fucking not, because Coutinho's still here, lad.
He is.
So just pipe down.
He's what we call in the industry the cunt.
Oh, and that fucking, what's that fitness coach, that Raymond Egg guy? He's a fucking bellend and all.
So there's something against eggs going on there for sure.
Both eggs.
To be fair, though, I think we should all thank the FSG Out Brigade because they've done a sterling job in highlighting the club and making us all love each other, and fair play to them. They've done an amazing job, and if it wasn't for them, God, where would we be? Lads, we need to take a minute and just realise how lucky we are to have the FSG Out Brigade, because without their actions, nothing would have happened, as they've said. So I think a round of applause for... Hang on a minute, no, that's right, they're all fucking idiots, aren't they? Sorry, my bad. FSG out, just to get that. You're all fucking idiots. Sorry, my bad. Jonathan, I got to move on to you, my friend. We've covered eggs, we've covered FSG out, we've covered Jamie Carragher, we've covered the love in, we've covered the hate. What else have we got in LFC Twitter?
It's the quick witness, witted jokes, all the constant memes. It's like anything. When things are going well for us, it's one of the funniest places to be. It's a real happy environment. Unfortunately, it's completely bipolar, and as soon as anything out of the ordinary that not goes our way, it just turns into absolutely carnage, and people completely overreact to everything. But it's like anything. It's just one thing that we're totally addicted to, and just no matter how much we try, you just can't get away from.
Speak for yourself.
The guy speaks absolutely for myself there now. Absolutely. The guys are pretty much covered. Pretty much touched on a lot of the best people on Twitter and the worst for that as well. I'd like to give a shout out, not Liverpool related, but more just football banter. Is Gary Lineker deserves a shout out.
We've already covered cunts. We've already done them with Duncan Castles.
Yeah, well, no, to be fair to him, I personally quite enjoy his Twitter timeline. I have to say, there's some of the battles he has with Piers Morgan as well, and particularly when he digs at his Morgan's Sundays is quite funny. He doesn't hold back. I just find it refreshing. There's some good ones there at the time when City somehow paid 50 million for Kyle Walker, and he said 50 million player, and he can't even cross the ball or something along those lines. But one of my favourite tweets, and was very much tongue in cheek, pretty much giving a little dig at themselves, was Indicator during the whole hoo-ha was the tracking of planes, the tracking of buses, the tracking of black vans when Van Dijk was allegedly up in the air on his way to us. And so everybody's gone on their fly scanner apps and whatnot, tracing the plane. And Indicated very much tongue-in-cheek, says, I'm just trying to confirm with the captain if Van Dijk is on board, I'll be back to you shortly, which I just thought was absolutely hilarious. It just, because Twitter on that time was just carnage. It really was. It was so bad it was laughable. But yeah, that's the big bad world of Twitter, isn't it?
That day you're talking of there, the Virgil van Dijk day, is he in the silver Merc? Is he up in the air? Is he landing? Is that a Liverpool van?
Is that a club? Yeah, that's been used 2 years ago. That's definitely it.
That was absolute. That was one of the most enjoyable days on Twitter, on LFC Twitter I can remember in a long time. And as you said, actually giving Gary Lineker some credit and Indy Kayla as well for the same thing. I enjoy anybody who doesn't mind and can take the piss out of themselves. And I think both of those lads can actually do that, to be fair, to some extent. So totally understand where you're coming from. And Indy Kayla has a... Look, if you're following that account thinking it's real and it's not a parody, then seek help immediately. But if you're following it for, as you said, the laughs and the KFC jokes and stuff, then there's certainly some comedy gold on there. Keith, I left you to last so we could give you time, because I know you never read the agendas, mate. So
yeah, mate. What can I say? I skim read the agenda today, but no. In terms of the positives, you know, it's just got to give a massive shout out to the Liverpool community worldwide, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think Liverpool Twitter is probably unlike any other fan Twitter out there. I think we're probably the most socially, in terms of social media, the most active fans out there. You know, we create debates out of nowhere. You know, the amount of content that's pushed out on Twitter on a daily basis, whether it be podcasts or articles from LFC. I follow other fans and fan blogs and stuff, and there's nothing quite like LFC Twitter. So that, I think, is a positive in itself. I think the one thing I hate the most about Twitter is those people who deliberately make a statement fishing for you to bite, if you know what I mean. So those ones that will turn around and be like, you know, Paul Pogba is already twice the player that Steven Gerrard was, don't at me. And you just want to go through the Twitter and you want to grab the person who's written that and you want to strangle him by the neck and go, what the fuck are you talking about, you fucking idiot? Do you know what I mean? But all they're doing it for is literally just to have you there and have you bite. So those are the ones that annoy me the most, because I end up biting like an idiot. In terms of funny tweets, you know what? You come across some real fucking good ones, man. I found this one. I thought this was one of my favorites. And I may have lost it. You may have to come back to me.
While we're waiting for that, my man LFC Stanley House comes out with some buttes, by the way.
He does. He does.
Yeah.
He's so good at it. And he's gained popularity off it. I mean, so many people have clocked onto what he's done. I think it's amazing. No. Right. All right, so you might. Here we go. Right, from Carl_M79. Oxlade-Chamberlain proving that once you play for Southampton, you will still end up at Liverpool somehow. There is no escape.
I love his profile picture, by the way.
Yeah.
That one was that one's got to be up there with my funniest ones of this year. But yeah, shout out to LFC Twitter, man. You know, Twitter wouldn't be as entertaining without you.
There is no crazier bunch of people than LFC Twitter. As they've said, they would have found Bin Laden. They could find anybody. Like, if you just give them a sniff and they will go on the hunt. And there is no more crazy people, whether you want to call that good thing or a bad thing. There's every type of fan on LFC Twitter. You gotta love it. Big shout out to them all, as you said, Keith. But you guys need to chill sometimes as well. The world doesn't end all the time that quickly. But we'll move on, lads. We'll move into the actual LFC agenda now. And the squad was announced for the Champions League this week. A couple of surprises, really, I suppose. No Klein. Jonathan, what do you make of that?
That one caught me on the hop because all the reports were that he'd be back in training. So I was actually expecting him back playing some, definitely in contention to take a spot in the squad pretty soon. But it's a little bit alarming, I have to say, that there's been no update released by the club or through any of the local media. There seems to be a complete hush radio silence on it. That would the fact that he hasn't been included in the squad, which I believe covers all the group games, so you're talking up to December, must mean that he had to have some pretty bad a relapse of his injury or got a new injury. There's also rumours flying around. You see people saying he broke a bone in his back.
That's what one of the listeners, James Yaskalis, I think his name is, asked. Is it true about his broken bone in his back, or do we believe it's nonsense? And the truth probably is none of us know, really, do we?
No, nobody knows. But what I would say is the fact that he's been excluded, it must mean that it's a serious injury, because Klopp said, I think it was mid-August, that it was only a matter of time before he's back training. Because I remember I think it was the Munich preseason game, and he just said, "Oh yeah, he's out," and it looked like just a little preseason niggle or whatever. And it's kind of gone a little bit all hendo, where there's just been complete silence. So we'll have to wait and see. It's a huge opportunity now for Trent to stake a claim for his first team spot, and or probably Gomez as well is probably looking at being. Because the two of them are going to have to interchange for league games. But it looks like, Trent is going to play a lot of Champions League football, definitely this side of Christmas.
You know what? That excites me, Jonathan, if I'm being honest. I'm actually semi-happy. No, you're not happy that Klein's injured, but I wanted Trent to get an extended run on the team, and if this is the way it's going to happen, then so be it.
Now the only thing I would say is there's probably times you would want to match in Klein just away from home, just to steady up the defense a bit more, and just to give us that other option. I suppose you could say you could argue Gomez gives you that bit of more defensive structure or defensive qualities to his game. Put it this way, it's not the end of the world that it would have been if it was a left back maybe.
Is there anything to be said, Jonathan, for this being the perfect time for Oxlade-Chamberlain to maybe get a spot at wing back at some point if we need to cover that right side?
Perhaps, but I'd be surprised if we go three at the back. Really, I really would. I think it would take a big change from Klopp to rock up, considering we've missed out on the number one target to maybe put us at three at the back. Because what are you saying? You're playing maybe Gomez as a right-sided centre half?
No,
perhaps
I'm gone fully with Matip, Lovren, and Van Dijk.
Kobe, but this side of January, this side of January.
No, I'm playing Van Dijk. I don't care. One way or the other, he's coming on. In my head, he's signed, and that's the end of it.
So that black van is pulling in, is it? It's his cousin Van Dickie or something, is it?
It's a silver van. It's a silver Mercedes V-Class.
Silver Van Dijk.
Dan, I'm gonna come over to you, buddy. And the squad is what it is now, and as Jonathan said, there till at least January. So, what do you think of the business we've done, and do you think that we have enough there to cover us?
It's not been a bad window. Obviously, it could have been a lot better. We've definitely got enough cover midfield and attack. Defence still worries me. Obviously, we've got Klein to come back, which will, at some point, hopefully soon, which will be a bonus. We have got something of a forgotten man as well. I'm pretty sure we didn't loan him out in the window. John Flanagan.
Yeah.
Correct me if
there.
I'm wrong.
No, he's still there, as is Lazar Markovic.
No, don't take the piss, Craig.
But no, what you're talking about? He's going to be a world beater. Love the guy. Great player.
He was, tell you what, he was cracking on Football Manager 2013. He was absolutely cracking on there. We've definitely got enough to cover us till January, injuries permitting. And I'm a lot more optimistic than when I did my first podcast with you guys a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
I actually think we'll make top four.
You were an awful depressing bastard that night, let's be honest. It was tough going.
Yeah, well, I've granted you your wish this week anyway, though. I've got my Jack and Coke next to me, so I'm a lot happier.
There you go. This podcast always goes a little bit better with some alcoholic influence. Keith, I'll come to you next, mate. What worries you about the squad that we have going forward between now and January? I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm sure that we can pick holes in it. So let's work at it. What do you think we needed to strengthen that we didn't?
I think what worries me is certain players picking up injuries and unbalancing the squad. See, I'm of the slightly different opinion that I think we have enough in our tank this time to see us into the Christmas period. It's just I'll give you an example. So, if say, for example, Dejan Lovren maybe got injured, then you could probably replace him with Klavan or Klavan with Joe Gomez, as long as they're going to be alongside Joel Matip. But then if you have the situation where someone like Joel Matip gets injured and then maybe, Alexander-Arnold gets injured and then all of a sudden you're playing Joe Gomez at right back, Klavan, Lovren, and Moreno, that's when it's going to become a bit of an issue. It's the same thing shifting into midfield. We've already lost Lallana. Say, for example, if they were to then lose someone like, I don't know, Emre Can, then again you're starting to shoehorn players into the central midfield position. So it's just going to have to be a case of balance. You want to make sure that the right players are playing at the right time with people that can complement their abilities. So, I'm not too worried at the moment, but I know that Liverpool are prone to an injury massacre. You know what I mean? We're so prone to having about 7 or 8 players out at any given one time, and out of those 7 to 8, 3 or 4 are key players. That's what's going to worry me. I wonder if we can keep fit, because that's gonna be the difference this season, is if we can keep players fit enough for long enough. And
what would it be, fullbacks that would worry you most, or would you be worried about the wide forward positions?
I mean, I'm most worried about, I suppose, the centre back position, the whole back four really. I think bar the left back situation where you've got a nice, got Moreno for Robertson, either or, but generally from the right back situation to the centre backs, I don't think there's enough quality cover to balance it out. I don't think Joe Gomez is the right answer at right back. Okay, he had a good game against a disenfranchised Arsenal, but overall, I feel like he gets caught out position quite often in that position. And I don't like the idea that Nathaniel Klein's not going to be available until the foreseeable future. And I also don't like the idea that, Joel Matip is our only calm, composed, pressing defender. And the idea of Lovren and Klavan again, it just frightens the bejesus out of me. They didn't win one game together last season, so that tells you everything you need to know. And I think they played about 10 games together altogether. So there's some serious issues there. If a few more players get injured,
there's only one thing for it at this stage, Keith: attack. We're going to have to go and win games 7-4 and 6-3.
I'm up for that. I'm still a young man, heart's ticking in the right places, so I'm ready. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on. You know what I mean? I'm all up for this Istanbul every game, even if it's against Burnley away.
That's it. Love it. That's exactly what I want to keep. Love the optimism. And Aaron, I'm going to come to you with a listener's question while we're on a similar topic. At Wayno, spelt with a double O, wants to know, do you feel we have a strong enough squad to challenge in all competitions?
No, I know that sounds really negative, but I just don't think any squad in the Premier League, any squad that's playing in Europe this year has a strong enough squad to challenge in every competition. I think you'll see the FA Cup and I'm not even going to try and pronounce I'm still going to call it the Capital One Cup, because to me that's not really going to change. I think you'll find most of the top teams will be using them as more of more of a chance to give players that are injured some game time, more chance to give youth players some more game time. I don't think any team in Europe's really going to want to push in either of them competitions really. So I'd probably say no, but I don't think that's because we've made that mistake. I just think that England's one of the most demanding leagues. I think we're one of the only top leagues that have top 5 divisions that has 2 cup competitions throughout the season. So no, I don't think so. But I think one thing I was going to touch on with Nathaniel Klein, I just wonder if with Jurgen Klopp, what he's doing is he has this real thing about players missing pre-season, didn't he? And Klein didn't have where he had hardly any of a pre-season. I just wonder if he just thinks Champions League's going to be too much for him as well as Premier League. So actually, maybe we're just better off leaving him out. And actually, probably the performance that Joe Gomez gave against Arsenal and the way that Trent's performed, he probably feels like he's got just enough cover there at the minute. So I think that's the reason why Klein's been left out of the squad. I think it's just he's got this big thing about pre-season. So I think that's probably that bit. But I mean, in terms of the only thing I was maybe slightly disappointed with was Ryan Kent going out on loan. I would have liked to have kept another winger, a pure winger, in the squad. But he's gone out on loan now, so that can't be changed. I'm guessing he'll just use the Ox and Lallana when he comes back, or Coutinho as wide men if anything was to happen to Mane or Salah. But to be honest, I'm quite happy with the balance of the squad. So the only thing I would change, same as everybody else, would probably be the centre-back. I would have liked to have seen us go for Howardez. I think he went Juventus in the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
scored for Germany tonight as well.
Very, very cheap as well. I just think it could have been another option. But from what I've seen, apparently Klopp is so set on Van Dijk. He's going to try again in January. We've just got to trust in him. He hasn't been wrong yet. I don't think he's really made a bad signing yet. So I'll keep the faith and we'll see where it goes, really.
I've got one worry about that, though. Do you feel that maybe, and of course this is all guesswork because none of us know, but do you feel that maybe Van Dijk feels a little bit hung out to dry by the situation that's happened over the summer?
Apparently they've been in talks, haven't they? Apparently they've actually said to him it might be a waiting game, and apparently he knows this. The interesting thing for me now is, does he go back into that Southampton side and play for another 3-4 months, or does he sulk? It's the same sort of thing with Coutinho and us again. I know it's a little bit different, but it's one of those ones where it's probably put the player in a bit of a difficult situation. But I mean, I've seen a lot of Southampton fans saying the same thing as us. We're all saying, do we just forgive Coutinho? And a lot of Southampton fans are saying we need to just forgive Van Dijk and see what happens. But it's a very tough one for players when they don't get the moves that they want materialising, really.
Yeah, it was, and we touched on this on the Transfer Deadline Day pod as well. It was really one of those windows where none of the players that agitated for moves got them, to be honest. The clubs held firm on 90% of those deals.
Exactly.
Jonathan,
exactly that.
Aaron touched on it there, but I want to bring up the 2 domestic cup competitions. And do you think they're important to us this season, or are we going to concentrate on the League and Champions League and give the fringe and youth players a chance in the 2 cups?
I think we're going to see a similar scenario to Klopp's last 2 seasons. League Cup, I'm still going to call it the League Cup because that's what it is. Seems to get a decent bit of priority just because of the fact that it gets wrapped up nice and early. The FA Cup just gets kind of tossed to one side, really, and you'll probably see something like not a full choice team, but a pretty close to first choice team for the League Cup games. Maybe 3 or 4 players that are kind of on the fringes, getting game time, and then you're looking at the FA Cup pretty much playing the kids. I think that's what we're going to see again, because just the timing of the FA Cup, everything is helter-skelter at that rate. The League Cup just gives a bit more time, so that's what I expect.
Keith, what do you think? Do we concentrate on the League and the Champions League and play the kids, or do we go and try and win everything?
Well, if we judge it by the fact that we seem to show up against the big teams, it'd probably be beneficial for us to kind of go for the Champions League and make sure that we finish in the top 4. Personally, I'd like to see an FA Cup run. I still maintain that the FA Cup does have a certain aura and a certain sense of magic with it, and it would be nice for us to play one of the last games of the season at Wembley in a big cup competition. We haven't had it for a long, long time. I think at one point, particularly towards the early millennial, after the millennium, we took it for granted because we won a hell of a lot of, we won the League Cup a couple of times. We had quite a few outings at the FA Cup, but it's gone dead quiet recently, aside from the League Cup final defeat to City. So I'd like to see us make a push for the FA Cup, but it's all going to be a matter of timing, though. sack off the League Cup as far as I'm concerned. I think we've had enough runs in that tournament. We won it hell a lot of times. Put it to bed. I say, let the kids have a little run around in that and go for the FA Cup and the Champions League.
And the Premier League, Keith. So surely we're winning that.
Top 4 is the ambition for the... I think we have much more of a chance of winning a cup competition than we do the Premier League trophy at this moment in time.
Oh,
Thoughts?
Not happy, Keith.
Hit me. Come at me, baby.
Jonathan, you want to come back in?
I just want to shoot back in there to all listeners outside Ireland. One of the biggest sporting Irish occasions was on yesterday, and my team Galway broke a 29-year hoodoo. So I always maintained once Galway broke that hoodoo, Liverpool were going to win the league. So get down to your bookies first thing in the morning, or go to your online account now and lump on Liverpool to win the league, because this has happened, folks. This is our year.
I gotta say, not a fan of hurling, but watch the final, Galway-Waterford. Fantastic game, fantastic exhibition of sportsmanship. Really tense, really good game. Delighted for Galway to win it, but the Dubs are going to win the football, and that's all that matters, Jonathan. So we'll have to push on, I'm afraid, from GAA.
Away you go.
Dan, I'm going to come to you, mate, and it's something that Aaron touched on as well regarding the cup competitions. Where do you think we need to go with this replay in the FA Cup? Surely at this point it's something that doesn't need to be done, and B, is there anything to be said for ditching one of the cups and just having one domestic cup?
As far as FA Cup replays go, I think they're outdated and it's time to just get rid. I know that some would argue that that's what distinguishes it from the League Cup. So in that case, that question becomes answers itself really. Yeah, if you're going to do with replays in the FA Cup, what's the point of having the League Cup? It's just it's a bit pointless really once you've done away with that. But look at what the FA Cup replays, how they impacted us last season. In January, when we had that awful January run, and we had plenty of injuries. We were forced to play. I think was it last season we were still playing Thiago Ilori at centre back.
It's a great white hope.
7 million down the drain.
Yeah,
broke Ronaldo's 100-meter record. Sport Lisbon.
But yeah, get rid of the FA Cup replays. Just do it on penalties for fuck's sake. It's getting old, and I don't want us to get fucked over in January again. But
seems like the replays are just there to help the bigger clubs. By the way, as far as I'm concerned, to stop them going out on penalties, perhaps.
Quite possibly. I don't know. I think it's just a case of it's been done for so long that's the way it's done, and that's the way that we're going to carry on. Typical FA set in the ways.
I think the thing is with it is that there's this the whole magic of the cup scenario, isn't it? So it's like, a replay would offer the opportunity for Burton Albion to go to Anfield, get a 0-0 draw, and then take them over and make millions, and vice versa. So it's one of those ones where if they could try and sort that bit out, then there could be because else if you take the replays away, there's going to be a lot of clubs that are going to turn around and say, well, actually, we're going to miss out on a big payday. You know what I mean? By trying to draw a match.
So is the option then to perhaps give the home team the choice if they want to be home or away when they come out?
That's what I was just thinking. That's what I was just thinking as well, based on that. It'd definitely be something different.
Obviously with the thing that they can't be sponsored by the Sun, they can't put out partnerships and sponsored by the Sun like absolute scumbags. We have to take that into account as well, because didn't that happen this season?
The pie eating guy, yeah. Yeah. He had a bet. Where was it? He had a bet with the Sun Bet. Well, the Sun Bet made a bet about him eating a pie on the pitch, and then he did it. So yeah. So we don't want situations like that. We wouldn't want clubs to have to turn to these gimmicks to be able to generate cash when they can do it in ways such as playing, I don't know, Liverpool away, for example. So there has to be a happy medium in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And rags like that newspaper can go to hell as well, because it ruined what was a great occasion for that football club, and it sullied it for the club and its fans, and it shouldn't have happened. Dan, regarding the One Cup competition, what do you think?
It wouldn't bother me if that happened, but then again, I suppose it's an avenue for the smaller clubs again. It goes back to the same argument. I think, to be honest, our opinion as Liverpool fans of a big club could be quite, could be quite biased in that regard, as in we've got a better chance of winning the FA Cup anyway. So just do away with the League Cup, get our fixture list cleared a bit, and let's have the Champions League crack. But I can't say I'd be too bothered about the League Cup going away.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I have an affinity with the League Cup. I don't know what it is.
I liked it when we won it.
Yeah, it probably is because it's a competition that we always seem to do well in. But I don't know. There's just something about the League Cup final, particularly that always. And as Jonathan said, it's a competition that ends. I think it was the final March or something like that, or February or March. It's a nice early final, isn't it? So if you can get that trophy in the bag early, it's a pretty good season then. Aaron, you raised this topic, so I want to come back to you on it, buddy. And also, on top of the question about the cup competitions and the replays, I wanted to throw in, do you think it's time for England to finally get Christmas break?
See, I'm one of these ones that I have an affinity with the FA Cup, really. I like the replays, and I know we said about let the home team pick, but the only problem is you're then going to get, every time a team gets Man United in the draw, or Chelsea or Liverpool, they're going to want to play away at Anfield or Old Trafford every time. So does that then become an easy cup run for the big teams? It's not really favoured, is it? So the replays, I have that love relationship with the FA Cup where I like the replays. I don't know why. I know it congests our fixture list and everything else, but I've had friends that I've played in it in the FA Cup and got to the third round. And I was actually from a town called Hastings, right down the south in England. And they play in what was the Ryman League. And they got all the way due to a replay. They got into the third round of the FA Cup and got Middlesbrough away. And for that, the development they did on the ground just from that game alone was stunning. So I think actually the FA Cup gives some of these smaller teams that bit of money that helps them. And then when you look at teams like Leyton Orient, where you got to feel sorry for them, the Olympic Stadium at West Ham's absolutely killed them. The Emirates has killed them. Leyton Orient they're on their arse, weren't they? I'm not sure if you ever saw that video on YouTube where they were saying feel sorry for Arsenal. Yeah, if you ever get the chance to watch it, you've got to watch it. It's brilliant. But I think for me, that's why the FA Cup needs to stay the way it is. I'd rather us scrap the League Cup and keep the FA Cup just the way it is. But I think maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned like that. But in terms of Christmas break, no, again, there's not for me. I went to Stoke last year, I think, which was on the 27th of December. And it was one of my favourite games last season. That was at home. We won 4-1. And we were singing Mane scoring all around us. And we were singing all these Christmassy type songs. And I don't know why, but again, for me, Christmas football where there's a game on every day for 10 days straight, I love it. Absolutely. And it's probably the reason why England don't do so well in tournaments and everything else. I don't know. But for me, football wouldn't be the same with a Christmas break in the Premier League. Everybody loves Boxing Day football as well, don't they?
I gotta say, I agree with you on that. I absolutely love the Christmas period. And you sent me a video of that when you guys were singing that song about Mane, and it really did bring a smile to my face. I have to say, I absolutely loved it.
It's bouncing, absolutely bouncing.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you can understand why managers want it, but just like the FA Cup, it is something that's ingrained in British football culture, and it's a time where a lot of people are off work as well and can get to games with their kids. So I gotta say, I agree with you on that one. Lads, just quickly go around while we're on the winter break. Jonathan, winter break, yes or no?
Oh, this is a heart moment. To give a quick answer, I love Christmas football too much. So from a selfish point of view, no.
Dan?
Not for me, no. What else would we do on Boxing Day?
Yeah, see, as Irish people, I must say I'm really jealous that you guys can go to the pub on Christmas Day. That really gets me over here because we can't do that, and I'd love the idea of not even having to cook, just going to the pub and buying dinner on Christmas Day would really appeal to me.
It is great.
Yeah,
living the dream.
Over here we're so Catholic and backwards that the pubs are still closed, so it's fucking ridiculous. It really is. Like, Good Friday in this country, by the way, is like, you swear you're planning for the end of times. They sell more drink, I think, and Good Friday the pubs are closed in Ireland, by the way, so no drink is allowed to be sold. And what used to happen was all the lads at like a pint used to jump on the ferry to Holyhead. As soon as the boat left Dublin, it could serve drink, so they got their drink for the day. But it's getting ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, it's getting crazy. But Keith, forgive my rant, my friend, my Irish rant. I do love this country, but there's a couple of things that just make no sense.
Yeah, well, no. In terms of international break, the consumer in me says no international break, but
Christmas break, buddy, Christmas.
Sorry, it's my word, that was rubbish. No, no Christmas break for me. What else would I do on Christmas Day, on Boxing Day? Really, what else would I do? I'd have to talk to people. So no, keep it how it is. But on the flip side of it, we have to take to the fact that we will lose players. Players will be tired. Players will have muscular injuries, and it will F us up every January with the style of play that we play. Absolutely no question.
I suppose it's about squad management, isn't it, at that point, Keith?
It is, but still, I felt like it's. I don't know. For the way the style of football we play, maybe less about squad management and more about Klopp. But it'd be interesting to see if Klopp has learned his lesson from last Christmas this year, to slow it down a bit, maybe to put less pressure on the players during that crazy bit of time. So we'll see. We'll see if Klopp's learned his lesson.
Speaking of learning lessons, actually, Aaron, I want to come to you on this one. Moreno, a new lease of life under Klopp, or is he just killing time until Robertson gets used to our style of football?
I don't know. I was very much on the decision of Moreno was gone. He didn't deserve to really have a chance in pre-season. I was probably a little bit tough on him really with it all. But I have to say, I've been to Anfield 3 times this season so far, and I think he's played in the Hoffenheim one and he played in the Arsenal one, didn't he? And both times I've been very impressed. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's changed all of a sudden. A bit like when Markovic. You remember when we bought Markovic? He was shocking, and then he had 2 or 3 months at right wing back, and he played really, really well. It seems to be a bit like that scenario. I don't know how he's done it. I can't actually put my finger on it. I don't know what it is that he's doing different. He still, though, has got that issue where it does feel like there's an error waiting to happen, but it hasn't happened in the last 2 or 3 games. So far, there's nothing else I can really say. And he has put himself about. He has worked incredibly hard. And, us, we're fickle as football fans, aren't we? All it takes is 4 or 5 good appearances, and all of a sudden, they're back in. So I think he's got a chance. I do think he's got a chance. And I do think Jurgen Klopp's a firm believer in having 2 good players in every position. And clearly he sees Moreno and Robertson as good competition for each other. And I think they'll push each other all the way this year. Maybe it's something that Moreno finally needs. Is a bit of competition.
It's a good show. And to be honest, going forward, I don't think any of us really have any complaints with Roberto Moreno. It's just that getting caught out of position and the ball's over his head and getting caught on the turn that seemed to be the problem, but that could happen to anybody if we play that attacking style of football.
I think also you've got Lovren next to him, haven't you? And I'm a fan of Lovren. I know a lot of people give him a lot of stick. I don't think he deserves all the stick that he gets sometimes. I know he makes a mistake here and there, but he's not as bad as what everybody makes out. But I do think teams target that as a bit of a weak point. And I do just think, actually, I think if you get Lovren on a great day, Moreno's fine. I think he is. I think Moreno needs that person next to him that's talking and bossing him around a bit. And I think if you don't have a voice, all of a sudden Moreno gets a little bit lost.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I get you, because it's tough. It's hard to judge him on the first 2 games of the season, and we all have preconceptions about what Moreno is. But Dan, what's your take on this? Do you see a future for Moreno at left back, or, as I questioned, is Klopp just killing time till Robertson gets used to the system?
If he carries on the way he's absolutely got a future. But I think we'll see how he handles his first major cock-up. I think that'll be... I'm getting my pessimistic head on again. I think that could be the undoing of him. And that's when we'll need Robertson to come in and really shine. But I'm a big fan of Robertson. He's got a lot going forward. For my money, I'll probably almost as much as Moreno. But he's just that little bit better defensively.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see him start.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Robertson, I have to say. I was really happy when we bought the guy, especially at the price we got him for in this day and age. I think that's going to turn out to be a snip. Did anybody see his goal, actually, for Scotland the other day?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful,
goal,
isn't it?
If we can get a bit of that at Liverpool this season, I'll be a very, very happy man. And I think that would help him win the fans over very, very quickly as well. But he certainly seems to have it in his locker, lads.
He does. He looks like a guy that has a bit of swagger to him. He has that little bit extra, and I think it's just waiting to be tapped out of him, because I think he was totally restricted at Hull, as any footballer would be under that muck. But no, I've big hopes for Robertson. I still think it's going to be closer to Christmas time before he's fully engraved himself into the team. I think himself and Moreno are going to interchange a lot. between now and then, while Robinson just kind of learns the ropes and just gets up to speed. But what I would say for Moreno is if he plays City away next is going to be the big test, because it's going to have quite a lot of attacks driven down his flanks. So it's how he copes with that. He's shown all the right signs so far. He's improved. You can see huge improvements in his positioning side of the game, especially. But yeah, it's going to be tested to the max, because look, Pep is there looking at his big diagram and he's a big X around Moreno's head. He's going run down here. Because remember with Millie there last season when they were chasing the game, they completely overloaded that wing. So I'd expect something similar. So yeah, big huge test, not only from Moreno but the whole team. The City game is going to be.
Well, the Snake is suspended, isn't he? So it's probably just going to be Sané that will be aimed at him pace wise.
Probably the 50 million player will probably be whipping down that wing as well, I'd imagine.
Oh, just let him. To be fair, he'll just get to the byline and fall over or something. He can't cross to save his life.
He'll do a Sterling of he just run into the crowd.
Keith, well, we're talking about full-backs, and I want to get your opinion on Moreno, but call me really, really old-fashioned. Robertson became a daddy recently, and I have to say I like this in players. I like when players have children and players settle down and get married, because for me, a stable home life seems to lead to better performances from players.
Well, doesn't Moreno have a kid?
He is a kid. There's a difference.
He has a dog. I don't know if you boys knew, but Moreno actually has a dog.
He does. He does. On the hoverboard, he walks around because his legs are tired.
I didn't know that. Next, you'll be telling me he has a tattoo of a chimp.
Yeah. No, I suppose it's probably a bit of an old-fashioned one, but a steady head, steady mind, it brings steady performances on the pitch, and hopefully the birth of his new child and him and his wife are going to help him to many, many successful performances on the pitch. On the flip side, hey, look, being married and with children doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a well-balanced individual. As we just said, look at Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney.
Ooh.
So there's always ifs and buts. And look, no doubt about it, Andrew Robinson I think it's going to be much more safe. As for me, he reminds me of Steve Finnan. I reckon he's going to be the Steve Finnan of Liverpool. Very kind of
absolutely beautifully put, Keith.
You know what I mean? That's it. And he's going to be very reliable, very workmanlike. Decent with the distribution. I think maybe even better at putting balls into the box. But we'll see. The biggest problem with Moreno, and I'm going to ask you guys if you see it often, it's not the way he plays. Sometimes it's not even the way he defends. He just has these moments within games, maybe 2 or 3 times a game, where he'll aim to try and do a really weird, he'll dive in to try and make a tackle that also would require him to win the ball at his feet, but then misses both and then gets skinned. I don't know if you guys see it. He almost jumps in to get the ball, and then he always gets left behind. And I think it's that particular brain-dead moment where you just say to Moreno, jockey him, mate. Yeah, just stay on your feet. Fuck it, he's gone and done it again, hasn't he?
Anyone remember Norwich 2 seasons ago in that 5-4 win where he tried to take out
that penalty giveaway,
and then he took him out twice, and you thought, "Fuck's sake, just stand on your feet."
Because if on FIFA he must be a great player to have, because you can actually fucking control it. You know what I mean? And stop him from doing crazy things.
Keith, I absolutely get you, buddy, and it remains to be seen whether Roberto Moreno is going to turn out to be the next Roberto Carlos for us. And speaking of Brazilians, that segues me perfectly into the next thing I wanted to talk about. Before I do that, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, armourtalent.com and painsolutionslim.co.uk. Huge thanks as always for supporting the show and letting us do what we do. Lads, let's get on to the Brazilians now, and I'll start with the negative one actually. So we'll start with Coutinho, and lots of people want to know, where do we see if Coutinho fitting back into the team, or Paul Greenberg wants to know, will he walk straight back into the team, or do you think Klopp will give him the same treatment that he gave to others, and most notably obviously Sacco? Keith, I'll come to you first on this one, buddy. What do you think is going to happen with Coutinho?
I think Coutinho will be... I think he'll come straight back into the team. I don't think he'll get the Sacco treatment, purely because I feel like the Sacco treatment, to me, the more and more I look at it, it comes across as something that was a slow burner. Maybe there was more than one incident, and that caused Klopp to kind of lose his mind with him a bit. And, Sacco was brought in to already be a leader, already be a warrior, already be a big character. So, Whereas Philippe Coutinho, I feel this is not as much to do with him as it's to do with a lot of people around him. And maybe Klopp will see that and say, do you know what? I just want to make sure that, we've got you now. We're going to get the best out of you. I think Coutinho, the spotlight is on Phil this season. He has managed to, and for all intents and purposes, get away with having what can only be described as, in and out performances. He's never been consistent enough throughout a season. He's had some great months. He's had some poor months. He scored some great goals in the big games against big teams, and he's also fallen away off the wagon. He's also gotten injured quite a lot of times. This season is the season for him to prove to himself that he's worth all the money that everybody's been trying to bid for him. And that will be interesting to see what type of Coutinho we're going to get this season. Are we going to get a Coutinho that's going to play through the playing barrier? Are we going to get a Coutinho that week in, week out is going to take Liverpool to the next level? Does he now come in and do what Luis Suarez did when he came back and say, look, I'm going to show the world that all that talk and all that hype that people have made about me is worth it. So the ball is very much in his court. Give him the chance. It could be the difference between Liverpool winning trophies and not winning trophies. That's how good he can be if he wants to be on a consistent basis.
Yeah, consistency is a huge thing, Keith. You're right with Coutinho, and it hasn't been something that he's displayed throughout his time at Liverpool, and we've always put it down to the fact that he's still developing as a player, but it's vital that he puts in a big season this season, Keith, and not just for us, but for himself if he does want that big move.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is, the talk of, Barcelona, this is your only chance and you cannot come back if you do not, all this bollocks. Barcelona will come back. Barcelona will be there next summer, but the question is, will Real Madrid also be there next summer? Will Bayern Munich be there next summer? Will Juventus be there next summer? And that will be down to Philippe Coutinho. There's no hiding anymore. He considers himself to be the best and most important player on his team, and his agent believes that to be the case as well. So prove it. Here is your season. Prove it.
Jonathan, Coutinho was your favourite player. You've never hidden that away, even at the time where we were all screaming blue murder about him. What do you think is going to happen with his reintegration into the team?
I think a lot of it is down to the attitude that he shows when he returns to Liverpool on Wednesday, I believe. I think all the English teams are hiring a chartered flight together, sharing the cost of it to fly home the Brazilians.
They love doing that, don't we? They love throwing them in. The Brazilians always give them the free neck pillows as well. You always see them with their yellow Brazilian neck pillows. Oh,
yeah, of course, yeah. And you have that, and Bobby and Coots have to take a selfie together with that as well.
They won't pay for a fucking plane, but they'll lash out the neck pillows.
All Rafa wanted was a plane seat, wasn't it?
Don't bring up Rafa. God love him.
God love him is right, and he's in more bother again there when you school. That guy just loves drama, Hanos. But going back to Coutinho, it's all dependent on his attitude that he returns or that he gives when he returns. Klopp has said all the right things, and I don't see an issue if Coutinho comes back and plays like he can. I can see him being integrated into the team very, very quickly. What I like, or what kind of fills me with positive thoughts, is Coutinho has played damn all football this pre-season. I think the Munich game was his last game for Liverpool, and then he was on hiatus for 2-3 weeks maybe. But yet he was able to come on against for Brazil and look like he was never away. Like the pass he gave to Jesus, and the moving, and then to take the ball back off him and slot it away was just a natural footballer, and that's all the qualities we know he has. I think if everything goes to plan, I would imagine that he probably makes the bench for City. I don't see him starting. I think it's the same three again, and possibly if we're chasing the game or whatever, he may get 10-15 minutes. I would imagine Klopp would like to get him integrated back in as quickly as he can, just to save all the drama and all the constant questions. But I suppose it's down to him. It's down to him. I'm hoping that he just buckles down, because look, he has got lambasted by fans alike, and rightly so, for the little tantrum that he tried to play. But you look, there's been so many players that have done quite not similar, but things along the same line. You have to look at Suarez. He came back, and we all loved him that season. Look, even Stevie did it twice for Chelsea, flirted with Chelsea, and came back. And he do you remember Stevie's first game back in that Champions League qualifier against that, was it Total Network Solutions or something like that? That
TNS from Wales.
The guys from Wales, yeah, when UEFA dicked us around and made us go to the first round of qualifying, and he comes back, kind of little murmurs and sticks a hat trick, and then he's back, and that part of his career is pretty much glossed over. So if Stevie's able to do it, Coutinho is certainly is, but it's all down to the player. I remain hopeful. Another little aside contrast is it will be interesting to see if the rumours are true about Chan and the possibility of him signing that pre-contract deal with Juve in January. It'll be interesting to see how that shapes out as well. Perhaps it could open up a place in the team for Coutinho. It's just another one of these aside little stories, isn't it? It's just the constant battle at Liverpool, eh?
I did want to get on to Emre Can, and I'll come to Dan in a moment with that. But before I get over to Dan, I just want to come to Aaron and ask a couple of slightly different things about Coutinho. Aaron, what did you make of Neymar's comments that he might have been the right thing for him to miss out on Barcelona? Is it just sour grapes? And secondly, I wanted to ask, do you think Barcelona were quoted 200 million by Liverpool, or do you think that's just sour grapes in Barcelona?
I don't think Barcelona really know when to turn with all of this. I think a lot of it is all just absolute utter bollocks. If I'm honest with you, I think they're just trying to make it look like to their fans that we've tried everything we could to get this done, and we were quoted this price and we'd never jeopardise the club. And I think it's bollocks again. I think it's more mind games and everything else. And no, I mean, Neymar's comments, originally I was happy with them when I heard that he said that, but then I was also quite angry that he came out and said I was happy. He said he was happy Coutinho scored his goal because he's filled with great sadness at the minute. I'm not being funny, all right? You haven't got your move, and I get that might be frustrating, but the word sad is a big word to use, isn't it, really? You're still playing in front of 54,000 fans, which, let's be honest, absolutely worship and have adored him. Kids with his name on the back of their shirts. But he's sad. Sad? Are you kidding me? You're living a dream. I can get that you're frustrated and everything else, but let's be honest, if you were that keen on, you thought something big was going to happen, don't sign a 5-year contract, or get your agent that you're paying for to put in a release clause. It's not difficult. These are things that, unfortunately, he's cocked up on by signing so happily in the past, really. I think the whole, what's he going to be like when he comes back in? At the end of the day, guys, from his point of view, it's a World Cup season, isn't it? He's got to play well for Liverpool this year. Obviously, he doesn't get into the World Cup squad at Brazil. It's not like Brazil don't have competition. They are full of talented players. He needs to play and he needs to work hard. Otherwise, he's not going to the World Cup this year, which is the biggest stage of them all, isn't it, really? I think one thing he needs to look at Luis Suarez, really. I mean, I know it's a bit different because Suarez was only going to be going to Arsenal, but he was told 1 more year. And if you can show how good you are, and he got his move. Liverpool gave him that move. He got it. Well, actually, Phil, it's your turn now. Step up and show us what the fuck you can do. Because for me at the moment, as much as he is massively important, and he is, if he had gone, yes, I would have been disappointed, but I would have been more disappointed if Mane had gone.
And what do you make of Neymar's comments?
That's what I've said, though, already, haven't I? Neymar said, obviously, his comments on around... he said, obviously, he had great sadness.
No, I mean the sad one about him not missing out by not going to Barcelona, that Liverpool might have done him a favour by not letting him get the move to Barca.
Again, though, it's one of the, how do we know that conversation even happened? I know it's reported that it's came out. If it is true, great. But yeah, I think it's more sour grapes from Neymar. There seems to be a lot of bad blood between him and Barca, really. I don't know what's gone on there that's gone so wrong. I know Barcelona were going to look at suing him, weren't they? And Neymar was looking to counter-sue over a loyalty bonus. I know that much. But again, I just think that's more sour grapes. I think the Neymar comments more pissed me off a couple of days later, the ones I've already mentioned. So I haven't taken them too much into... To be honest, all this talk and everything else, all we need to do is just see what Coutinho comes and does, really. Yep. I mean, the moment he doesn't track back, or the moment that he does something wrong, Liverpool fans will be, we'll be all over him like a fucking rash. So all we need to see is... Remember Dirk Cow? Let's just put it that way. Nothing to do with the move, but we loved him because he just worked fucking hard, didn't he? He worked really hard. And you could see that he gave everything for the shirt. Now, Coutinho, you want your move next year, fair enough, but just come back to this club, work hard, put in the performances that you need to put in, and all will be forgiven after a game or two. If he comes on against City and Ben's winning the top corner, do you think Liverpool fans aren't going to cheer? We'll go fucking mental. We'll all be over Twitter again, won't we? Going fucking Coutinho's the best thing since sliced bread. So for me, it's I wish I could give a real opinion on it. I just need to see what he's like when he comes back. I don't think Klopp will have any grudge against him at all. I think I do think though that it might take him a couple of weeks to get back into the side, and rightly so, really, because the way that I think Salah and Mane have played as the front three, and the way that the midfield three played against Arsenal, there's no reason to drop any of them at the minute.
I've got a sneaking suspicion that next summer we might see PSG coming in from to make Neymar happy.
Yeah, to be honest, that was one thing I was going to say. I can see him going PSG with Neymar. But then again, this is all down to their spending, isn't it, as well? Because the Mbappe deal is very, very controversial. So it all depends on how they look at the way the transfer's gone, isn't it? I think FIFA are looking into it now, aren't they?
Well, we should just get Coutinho to re-sign another contract now with a £258 million buyout clause in it, because that'll be no bother to PSG.
But isn't that his fault? Don't you think? This is the biggest problem, though. Isn't that his fault, Coutinho? If you're going to sign a 5-year deal and you think there's a good chance that someone big might come in for me, you speak to your agent and you just say, I'm not signing until there's a release clause in that contract. It's as simple as that. He's fucked up here. He's been poorly advised as well. Very poorly advised.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more, Aaron. He shouldn't have signed that deal if he wasn't happy, and a lot of contracts these days have release clauses or termination clauses built into them, and as you said, if he didn't get his agent to do it, tough shit. You're going to have to make do with the 150 grand a week or whatever it is he's getting for the time being.
With his great sadness.
Absolutely, with his great sadness, and it was like a funeral procession apparently with his family around. God love them all. My heart goes out to them. Dan, we touched on it there. Jonathan brought it up, and it was actually in my thought process, but I'd forgotten about it. Emre Can's contract. What do we think is going to happen? Because I am petrified at the thoughts of losing him on a free.
So am I. I mean, I've said before on here that Emre is a bit Jekyll and Hyde, but when he's on top of his game, he's absolutely phenomenal. My heart says that he'll see the light and sign for us and be with us for another 10 years. But then the head kicks in and says, well, why hasn't he done so already? But again, uncharacteristic optimism. I'm going to keep the faith and think that between FSG and Klopp will convince him to stay.
I hope to good God you're right, because after the transfer window, not having the finish that we had, this is probably the only thing left that they can do to bring some cheer to the fan base at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as nobody says it's like having a new signing, I think we'll all be pretty happy, because I'm fucking sick of hearing that line.
Ah, no, you only wheel that line now for James Milner coming into midfield. You only keep that for the big players like him.
And the big questions.
Going back to the Twitter question,
Jonathan.
Going back to the Twitter question, shout out for boring Milner and deluded Brendan.
Deluded Brendan can go fuck himself. That's what deluded Brendan can do. That account was funny for about 5 minutes. And
I still got a chuckle out of it. Boring Milner's still funny though. Yeah,
it is. I actually agree with you. Boring Milner is really funny, but that deluded Brendan one, I don't know if I was just pissed off at the way things ended for Rodgers at Liverpool or what, but that count just does my fucking head in. I just don't.
Great character though.
Tremendous, yeah, great character. What an excellent human being. Full of
a wonderful technician.
A beautiful human being. Keith, what's your take on Emre Can? Are you worried, or do you think that it's all in hand?
I don't think he'll be a Liverpool player next season, sorry to say, lads. I don't reckon he's signing that contract. For me, I think Emre comes across somebody who sees the bright lights of Italy, maybe in Turin, being in that kind of environment, maybe, I don't know, maybe playing in Paris or something like that. I just think he's quite a posy guy. He knows he looks damn good, and he knows he can put off some damn good looks. And I'm just intrigued to know if location will play a factor. Not to say that Liverpool's not a great city and a lovely city to live in, and earning as much money as you do, you'd live anywhere. But if the opportunity, I don't know if he's maybe one of those type of players that likes to live a bit more of the kind of, the inner city life, if you will. You know what I mean? And I have a feeling that could pose a question. I may be wrong. You know, I remember when we spoke on transfer deadline day, someone brought up an idea that maybe he was just waiting to see all the players come in before negotiating his contract at a higher rate. So, for example, you know, I don't think anybody's come in actually that would have tested the waters of Coutinho as our highest paid player. Would I be right in saying that? Anyone want to say different?
Honestly, I haven't got a clue who the highest
I
paid
think it's
player at the club
Coutinho.
is.
Well, I think he might have been waiting for Virgil van Dijk to sign the thing to see, you know, how far we can push our wage budget. But yeah, I just have this weird feeling that I think he's gone no matter what, and I don't think it's down to money. I don't think it's down to necessarily our project. I just think it's down to location.
When I heard about Juve's interest first a while back, I must admit I thought to myself, for them, he's just a massive upgrade on Sami Khedira for just wages basically as well. To be fair, no transfer fee, and Juventus have pulled off some magnificent moves in the transfer window over the last couple of seasons, particularly with aging players coming towards the end of their contracts.
Oh, some of the signings they pulled off have been incredible. I mean, is it Umtiti they got in there? Is it? No, not Umtiti, sorry. Who's the midfielder they got for 13 million quid from PSG? Matuidi. That's the geezer. Thank you for saving me there. Matuidi they got in for hardly anything. Khedira they got in for free. You know, they are the masters at pulling off these stunts, and I think Emre. I hate to say it, I think Emre is going to be the latest in a long catalogue of Juve bargains.
And they got 1 year out of Dani Alves as well.
Exactly. You know, as I said, you know, Emre Can's one of those players who he is a bit hit and miss at the same time. I think this is going to be a big season for him, you know, but I don't feel like if Emre Can leaves as long as Emre Can doesn't leave for a direct rival in the Premier League, you know, it will be a thank you, but you know, there are other players out, you know, with Naby Keita coming in, am I going to be quiet that many tears, you know? If he doesn't want to play for the club, then ultimately the club comes first. But his qualities are great. But I don't know. By looking at Naby Keita, I think we've got a very, very replacement coming in already.
It is a beautiful thing to know that Naby Keita's coming next season, no matter what happens this season, I have to say.
Amazing,
softens the blow.
It really does. It really does. Lads, I said I wanted to talk about our two Brazilians. So, Aaron, I want to come to you on a player that I love probably more than any other player playing for Liverpool, and a player that I think is hugely underrated, particularly by opposition fans, and that is Bobby Firmino. I can't let this podcast go by without showing some love to Bobby, because he's just an all-round player.
Yeah, do you know what? I was one of the ones that said at the beginning of the season, didn't know, that he can't be a number 9 for Liverpool because he wouldn't score enough goals. But I'm not going to lie, the Hoffenheim game frustrated me more in the sense of he didn't score. But that's because, again, I think I'm quite critical on strikers, really. But the Arsenal game, he was just different class. I can't. There was nothing wrong with his performance whatsoever. And actually, I remember when I went to watch one of his first games for Liverpool against Carlisle in the Cup at Anfield, and he came off early that game and he was shocking, really. You could tell he just hadn't adjusted to the way we play football. Looking at him against Arsenal, he was just the complete forward. He's adding everything to his game. Absolutely everything to his game. He's just getting better and better, really. I mean, the header against Arsenal was great. Obviously, his work rate is stunning. He's so clever the way he drops off and creates space for Mane and Salah. He doesn't stop moving. He's getting better. He's just getting better and better every week. And all I can say is fingers crossed that he doesn't do a Coutinho in a couple of years' time and start crying that he's not earning enough money, wants to go to a bigger club, because again, you know, Jurgen Klopp said that Coutinho could have a statue outside the ground of himself. But actually, I'm starting to think there could be more Firmino's more than anything. He really could be something very, very special for Liverpool. And he could be the one that forefronts the whole thing.
I couldn't agree more. As I said at the start, I absolutely love Bobby Firmino. And Jonathan Aaron said he's a player that Klopp seems to love, and himself and Lallana seem to be players that are kind of moulded in Klopp's image of the modern footballer. What's your take on Bobby?
Oh, massive fan. Without having a dig at Aaron there, it really frustrates me when people go on that he's not a number 9. Because I just
call
think
him a prick. He's there, like, he can hear you. Go on, just say it.
Yeah, if you want to say it, say it.
I'll try and be polite, but it's people that it really riles me, because if you're unsure, and if you're one of these people that are unsure on Bobby, go to a game or watch a game on one of the high cameras where you can see the overall view of the game, and just watch his movement and his pressing, his counter pressing. It's just an absolute joy. He's the perfect footballer. He reminds me more and more of Suarez each day. I watch him, and I even spoke on a previous pod here, but he even has the unnecessary wrist bandage as well, just to add to the look. But such an intelligent footballer. He's improved in all areas. You can see he's really loving life. He's the shiniest teeth known to mankind. But for me, what sums up Bobby is watch Chan's second goal against Hoffenheim in the home leg. He picks the ball deep, and he's deep on his own kind of left channel, plays the ball goes up to Gini, flicks it through to Mane. He absolutely burns it down the wing then to receive the ball again, and plays an absolute pin perfect ball across to Chan, who just slots it in. It was just a perfect goal, and he's adding so much to his game. He's now taking the penalties. He's just a perfect Klopp player, and will continue to.
Could you fit perfect in another few times?
No, but I can't stress just how much of a perfect player he is, because he's just perfect. He's just perfect. Really.
I'll tell you what, Jonathan. I think the reason why I was critical of him before was last season. I think maybe the support he had around him wasn't good enough. I think this year, now that Salah's on one side as well, it's making things a lot better for him, isn't it? But let's be honest, finishing, it isn't 100% there yet, is it?
It's been super critical. Yeah, his finishing isn't up to scratch yet.
But now he's actually got, if you look at some of the goals, I think against Arsenal, he dropped off and he waited for the run of Mane. But also, because he had Salah making a run the other side, it is giving him a lot more space. And I think this year, like you've said, that's how he's going to get better now. He's getting better players around him. He's one of those that will get better and better with others around him. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think he can win a game just by himself. That is my only criticism of him.
What I would say with that is you look overall, again, without getting too nerdy in it, just watch the way he just drops off defenders. And then it's definitely a pre-designed tactic that we're working on. He drops a little deeper. Centre half done, yeah, and the two because the two guys are playing as inverted wingers. They're not on their good foot side, so they're designed. The way we're set up is for them to make infield runs. You look at the way Manny honed in on inside Chamberlain, inside their right side at centre half there for the Arsenal game gone by. It's just working those angles, and that's definitely a pre-designed move. I think if you go to Klopp, I'll give you. What's the biggest striker's name that big money signing? Maybe Lacazette. I don't think Klopp would go for him. I think he much prefers to have Bobby there doing that role, doing that little drop and deep, that intelligence, because he can flick in. And then the joy about Bobby is he can literally play in 3-4 different positions. Even watch the Arsenal game again. I know keep going back to a most recent game. The last 10 minutes or so before he gets taken off, he's over on the right wing. When Sturridge comes.
He was a centre-back when he was 15, wasn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Centre-back. And Jurgen Klopp actually said he's my best defender, isn't he, in the team?
Yeah, there's that continuous press as well that he has, and he leads that along with the likes of Lallana, whatever. He just hones in it. And he's the most, his work rate doesn't match the whole kind of demeanor that he gives. His whole, he's this party boy. He's this kind of flash-looking, pretty slick little dude. You wouldn't expect him to be the guy charge and doing the continuous pressing, but he is. To be fair, he's a brilliant work rate. He seems generally happy at the place, and he plays with a smile. And what's not to love about him?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I was really interested listening to you and Aaron going back and forth there, because there were some very good points. Dan, I mentioned earlier on that I feel that a lot of opposition fans really underrate Firmino. And do you think I'm paranoid with that, or do you think it's something that's actually true?
I think it's actually quite true, particularly this season, because with Mane and Salah down either side, they're the danger men. They're what everybody's focused on. They're the threats, and everybody just seems to forget Bobby. He's almost hidden in plain sight, putting in the work. And this season, scoring the goals, making the assists. I think, if I'm right in saying, he's got the best combined goals and assists for us out of the front three this season. 2 goals, 2 assists. And I'll be honest, I didn't fully understand Firmino's impact until somebody told me, actually watch him. Actually watch his movement off the ball and everything Jonathan Aaron just said there. Yeah, they do underrate him, but again, particularly this season, he is hidden in plain sight almost because of the two boys up and down the flanks.
The 30 or so million we paid Hoffenheim from was, at the time, we were told we overpaid from, but it seems to be an absolute snip now, mate, doesn't it?
Yeah, how much would it be worth in the current market if playing the way he is? What, about 60, 70, 80? Absolutely. We'd hold out for 150. We'd get an agent to say 200 million. But
yeah.
Going back to the wages, I just had a quick Google. A few days ago, this was in the Daily Star, so take it with a pinch of salt. Apparently, Emery is only on 55 grand a week.
Only?
Yeah, only. He must be in a fucking bedsit or something. Poor lad.
Is he? He'll be like the McDonald's staff wanting to go on strike now.
55 grand a week. We should probably do a whip round from.
I don't think you guys understand how important an expensive hair cream can be.
I was about to say, yeah, there's a huge portion of that cut in his hair, isn't there?
He is fucking gorgeous, though, isn't he?
It's beautiful.
No homo, but he is a good-looking chap. He must fucking love it.
As much as it pains me as well, you can just see him, the hair slicked back, the black and white strip, out on a sunny day out in Italy playing Roma or wherever it may be. He does look the part, doesn't he? He just has that little swagger to him.
He does. He's I don't know. I keep pointing him out to my wife, and she doesn't find him attractive, and I'm gonna keep pointing him out until she admits it, because the chap is an Adonis. And Keith, last word of the podcast, I'm gonna give it to you about Bobby. What's your feelings?
Well, my feelings are currently in the process of being written in a little article that I'm going to let out soon, so Craig, you're going to love it. But I will tell you one thing. Thank God Roberto Firmino is Brazilian, because boy, does that boy love to party. And his Snapchat and Instagram chat during the summer, out of all the footballers out there, had to be the most entertaining things I've seen. Man was at concerts every night, drinking, partying with his wife, all sorts of stuff. And yet he came back on day one of pre-season, ready to go, and he looks sharper, he looks fitter, and he looks faster than he's done over the previous 2 seasons. And I think that's a testament to the man. You know, when it comes down to business, he doesn't business, shall we say? And the fact, diving into some of his stats, the guy's produced a goal or assist every 0.5 games. His year-on-year goals are improving. He's got the ability to score 20 or more goals in a season, and now he's been given the opportunity to take penalties. I reckon he'll get to that magical 20 mark, which will kind of give people who underrate him the kind of fuel to say, look, a striker getting him the kind of goals, they'll probably start to finally give him the credit that he deserves. I mean, the first 5 games, he started 3 goals, 3 assists. I reckon he could be, he is Liverpool's most important player, without a shadow of a doubt.
He's loving life as well, Keith, as you said, and he's always got a smile on his face, and congratulations to him getting married this summer, and everything seems to be going right for him, and he seems to be loving life in Liverpool as well. So
I think there was one more point I had to make. Just let's never forget that the dip in form with Firmino last season did coincide with his house being burgled and the drink driving situation. So I think that's where and I think for him as well, his performance did tail off when we needed him the most. So hopefully this season, if he can go a whole year, struggle free, controversy free, I reckon that he could reach new heights.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we all think he's going to be such a big player for us, and we all like him just as much as I do. Gents, I'm going to leave it there for this week. Just a couple of things to cover. Keith and the guys will be back on Thursday with ARW Weekly, so keep an eye out for that one. Just to answer a couple of quick things that came in on social media that Jonathan has sent to me. Guys, I have left social media, so you won't be seeing me on Twitter or that anymore. Personally, just haven't got the time, so it's sent for family reasons. But for any of you that are asking, I will be on the podcast. I won't be going anywhere. So I just wanted to cover that one. And thanks to the guys for joining me this week. Big thanks to Jonathan, to Keith, to Dan, and to Aaron. As I said, Keith will be back on Thursday with ARW Weekly. Thanks so much for listening in, guys. Take care and good luck.